Sales professionals, don't fall into this trap when you're engaging a potential customer. Don't fall into this trap. You'll probably show up to the conversation, whether it's over Zoom, live, or in person, and they'll probably try to push you into telling them how you're different, what you can do for them. Give me your pitch, some form of that, right? And we have a tendency to fall into that trap. But I'm going to encourage you not to do that. Don't get into pitching, presenting, demoing too quick. You're not ready. You don't know anything about it. And if you jump into it like most sales professionals do, well, let me say like most sales reps do, you're going to sound like everybody else. You're going to become a commodity. They're going to commoditize you, and it's going to become about price, and they're going to ghost you. You're going to be chasing them. They're not going to get back to you. It's going to be hard to follow up with them. It's going to create a whole bunch of issues for you. So here's what you do instead. Now, back in the day, years ago, we were taught, I'm sure you were taught just like I was taught, that we need to do a lot of research and understand the customer and their business situation and the subtleties and details of their company the best we could before we showed up, because we didn't want to waste their time and we didn't want to annoy them with questions that we should already know the answer to. But here's the thing. The world has changed significantly. We are no longer in 1980. This is no longer consultative selling. That shit's been dead years. Where we are is understanding and helping them to face what they're not currently facing. That's the issues they have, the problems they potentially have, and what the impact is of those problems. Now, you may show up to your customers or your prospective customers and they're like, I don't have any problems. Everything's fine. We're good. We're covered. But the reality of the situation is they're not facing the reality of their situation. They're getting by. They're adjusting. They're overcoming. They're in survival mode. And so it's become, they've become used to it. But when you give them the opportunity to take a moment to slow down and to really think about, talk about what the reality of their situation is, where they are, where they're really trying to go, why it even matters, what's standing in the way, and what the ultimate payoff for them is going to be if they get there, or the pain or the loss they're going to experience if they don't, then you will have their attention, and that can begin the dialogue. So here's what I'll encourage you to do instead. You may even start out. I teach all my clients how to do this. A lot of sales professionals, whether they're brand new, they've been doing it a while, or they're veterans, tend to fall in the trap just like I did. I'm no exception until I learned how to do this effectively. You want to get ahead of it. They say that the best time to overcome any objection is before it happens, and this is no different. So that before they have a chance to put you into a box or to make you a commodity or to make it all about price or make you look like everybody else, get ahead of it and say, as we start this conversation, Mr. Business Owner, Mr. Prospect, Mr. Potential Customer, Mr. Potential Buyer, I hate the word prospect, by the way, Mr. Potential Buyer, as we get into this, what's your experience when it comes to talking to vendors that are in my space whenever you have these conversations? What does that normally look like? They're probably going to tell you that they just get to the bottom line, they tell them what they got, they pitch, they present, they show them a slide deck, they go through their presentation, and you want them to tell you that because they realize that's what they see most of the time. And then you want to set the expectation. Some people will say set the table. Set the expectation like this and say, well, Mr. Dillon, if it's okay, I prefer not to do it that way, because the reality of the situation is if I do that, I will sound like everybody else and it will be a complete waste of your time. But if you're okay with it, what I would like to do instead is I would like to understand the specifics of your situation, things that only you know about your business, about your outcomes, about what you're trying to accomplish. And then if I understand that specifically, kind of where you are, where you're trying to get, and if there's a differential there, then I can give you some very sniper like potential solutions or ideas that could potentially help you move that needle, whether you and I work together or not. So if I can understand where you are and where you're trying to get and what might be standing in the way, I can share some things specifically that my product service can do for you. And then we can decide if it's even worth continuing this conversation. Would that be ideal? Or would that help you? Or would that be a better way to look at it? What you're going to find is that they find it refreshing and they go, yeah, no, that'd be great. What you got, right? But I did talk to a business owner one time that was telling me that he said, "Dwayne, I got to tell you, me and the CSO," this was the owner of the company, the managing partner, said, "Me and the CSO were sitting down for a presentation. We did not have a lot of time." And so the sales rep would come in. He had on his board, he had 5 things that were potential problems. And he asked me, he said, "Hey, before I jump into here, tell me, are these the 5 things that you're dealing with?" And I appreciated what he was doing, but I told him, "Listen, we don't have time for this. I need you to go through your presentation, just get through it, and we'll make a decision. and we'll go back to you. But the sales rep was a professional. He paused right there and he said, Mr. Prospective Buyer, I won't name names, Mr. Prospective Buyer, I could do that, but it's going to be a disservice to you, because here's the thing. If I don't know this is the reality of your situation, if these 5 things aren't what's going on based on what I have researched and understand about your company, then I'd be wasting your time, and I couldn't even offer a solution that might help you guys get there. So if it's okay with you, let's unpack this and make sure it's right, and then I will proceed. He goes, I understand what you're doing, but I really need you to get to the point. And the guy said, then we're either going to need to reschedule, or we're just going to have to decide this isn't the best fit. And the business owner told me, he said, Dwayne, I respected that to no end. And this guy was a type A personality. So if he felt that way, trust me when I tell you, don't fall into the trap, set the tone, and you take control of the conversation, of setting the tone and the flow. And then you simply want to do a deep dive discovery and understanding of where, again, they are, where they're trying to get, what might be in the way, why they even would want to make a change in the first place if they do, what's ultimately going to be the reward or the payoff when they get there, or what's going to be lost if they continue to stay exactly where they are. Because change is hard. And there's an old saying that says, better to dance with the devil you know, right? In other words, change is hard, but we're dealing with this. We understand our current situation, and it's really risky to change it. And if you can't get them to face the reality of their situations and to create the space between where they are and where they want to go, and self-discover that, wait a minute, there is a higher level for us, there is better for us, and we've been sitting in this mediocrity for this long, until they've had that conversation, until they've self-realized it and self-discovered and told you, telling themselves. Until that happens, we're simply pitching, presenting, and selling, and that's what most people resist and run away from, and we end up chasing. But if they have an epiphany, if they see it, if they say it, Robert Cialdini wrote a great book called Influence, Psychology, Persuasion, and he calls that consistency. When people state and admit and claim a certain thing, it's very hard for them to go against it. They can argue with what you said all day, every day, but if they came to the realization and they created it, one of my other mentors, John Maxwell, says that people support what they create or what they help create. So if they identify it, if they claim it, if they confess it, if they create it, then they own it. And when they own it, they're compelled to want to change it and to bridge that gap that they're seeing. So I hope this serves. Listen, I'm going to be doing a mini workshop and diving deeper onto this whole concept. And if you'd like an invitation when I do that, please drop a comment, send me a direct message on the platform you're watching this on, or run over to my website, sellingwithinfluence.com, and there should be a link also in my bio with some free training that you can get to advance and help you sell more consistently, predictably, and profitably. Because I believe you can write your own ticket in sales. You just got to be willing to influence the outcomes of your potential buyers and help them get the best result for themselves. And even when you can't and you refer them in the right direction, it all comes back to you. And over time, you get a reputation for being the go-to, someone they can trust, and somebody they want to tell their business associates, their friends, their family, and do refer you business even if they can't do it directly. So hope that serves. Let's talk soon. Bye-bye.